Hey everyone, I apologize for the last video for episode 2. Something happened with my audio and it didn't record how I wanted it to. So this is the re-recorded version. This is episode 2 and I am CJ from CJ Coins and Crafts, and welcome to NumisCast. This program is dedicated to exploring, learning, and understanding our coinage. Today we will be talking about the coin design process. There is a 9-part process for our modern coinage to go from design and selection to coining press production. Step 1. Congress passes the legislation needed to create the coin. Step 2. The mint creates the design requirements. This could be what design elements that the coin needs to have or needs to represent. Step 3. Artisans at the mint create the initial designs, working within the guidelines that were previously set forth. Step 4. The mint and any related stakeholders review the designs and pass these on to the committees for further review. These committees submit the recommendations to the Secretary of the Treasury. The Secretary of the Treasury selects the final design. Step 7. The final chosen design is then sculpted by the mint artists. Step 8. A test die is created from the sculpture that the artist had previously created. And step 9. The test die is used to strike test coins or assay pieces. If these pieces are approved, the coin design goes into full production. That is a quick overview of what the behind the scenes of creating a coin is all about. Now let's look at this process in a little bit more depth. So a coin or metal starts when a bill is introduced to Congress. These bills could originate from a number of different avenues, whether it be from a senator or from the direction of a government agency. There is also power for the Secretary of the Treasury to authorize the mint to make certain precious metal like gold, silver, or bronze metals as numismatic products. In the Act of September 26, 1890, the legislation states that the Director of the Mint shall have power, with approval of the Secretary of the Treasury, to cause new designs or models of authorized emblems or devices to be prepared and adopted in the same manner as when new coins or devices are authorized. This basically means that the mint director can have new designs created using design elements that have already been approved to use. This power of the mint director comes with a caveat that a change cannot be made more than once in 25 years from and including the year of the first adoption of the design, model, die, or hub of the same coin. This would mean that if there was a change sooner than 25 years, it would require Congress to have legislation to allow the creation of the new coin design. For most U.S. coinage, you will see a large majority of the modern coinage to have the same design for well more than 25 years. After the legislation is passed and the mint creates the guidelines for the elements of the new coin, and examples of these required elements are the motto, "In God We Trust," liberty, and E Pluribus Unum. Other examples could be the variations of the eagle or the bust or the outline or the face of who is going to be represented on the coin. Mint artisans create a number of proposed designs fulfilling these requirements. This can be a controversial topic, as there have been statements made from artisans that there are so many design element requirements and government red tape that the art part of the design process has lost its luster. These designs are reviewed by the Mint, the Commission of Fine Arts, and finally the CCAC. The CCAC is the Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee, and this committee was established to mainly advise the Secretary of the Treasury and also are appointed by the Secretary. These appointments have requirements of different backgrounds to ensure the diversity of the committee. One of these, of whom by education, training, or experience, as a nationally or internationally recognized curator in the United States of a numismatic collection. One of whom by experience in the metallic arts or sculpture. One of whom by education, training, or experience in American history. 3 of whom can represent the interests of the general public in the coinage of the United States. 4 of whom by education, training, or experience that are selected by basically recommendations. 1 recommended by the Speaker of the House of Representatives. 1 recommended by the Minority Leader of the House of Representatives. 1 recommended by the Majority Leader of the Senate. And 1 recommended by the Minority Leader of the Senate. Those are all of the appointments that are for the Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee. The approved design from the committees is sent to the Secretary of the Treasury for final approval. Once approved, this design goes back to the mint for production. This design is sculpted for the creation of the test dies. These sculpts historically have been done on large plaster or clay rounds called galvanos. But since 2008, the sculpting process has been done digitally and utilizing CNC die cutting. The galvano was used on a reduction lathe to recreate the design onto a die face while retaining all of the detail of the larger image. And we go into the full die production process in a later episode. The test die is created and used to strike test pieces or assay pieces to ensure that the resulting coins meet the specifications. Any issues that are discovered at this point allows the engravers to go back and make any necessary adjustments or alterations to the design profile. There are 4 types of coins that are created: business strike, proof strike, SMS, and pattern coins. Business strike coins are the coins that you see and you will find in circulation. Proof coins are blank planchets that are polished and then struck with specially treated dies. These proof coins are generally made at the San Francisco Mint and can be determined by a mirror-like field with frosted devices or design elements. These coins are struck at least twice to ensure the design is crisp. SMS, or special mint set coins, were special coins struck in the mid-60s, specifically to appease collectors. These coins have strong strikes similar to proofs, but without the polishing processes. Pattern coins were used early on to see how certain design elements matched up with each other. Pattern coins that have been encapsulated by the grading companies will have a J number associated to the listings of the United States pattern, experimental, and trial pieces written by Dr. J. Hewitt, Judd. So those, if you find a graded example of a pattern coin, it will have a J and then usually a 3 or 4 digit number as the listing, and that is a Judd number, which is a pattern strike. Over the years, the U.S. coins have had many different denominations and been struck out of many different materials. The United States have struck half cents, large cents, small cents, 2 cents, 3 cents, also known as trimes and nickels, half dimes, 20-cent coins, quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins. One of the first metallic changes as far as metallic composition was in 1864 with the Indian head cent. During the Civil War, nearly all gold, silver, and copper coins had disappeared from circulation, as these coins were being hoarded for the metal content that could later be melted down after the war, regardless of what side won, the Confederates or the Union. Merchants began making tokens to fill this void. These Civil War tokens had a huge number of different designs, some simple and for a specific vendor, and others mimicking the flying eagle and the Indian head designs. The Act of April 22nd, 1864 made the issuance of these tokens illegal and allowed the government to issue its own bronze coin. This bronze was 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc. This was a change from the original composition, which was 80% copper and 12% nickel of the earlier coinage. Around the same time, the 3-cent silver, also known as a trime, that was originally struck in a 75% silver and 25% copper mix, was replaced with a 3-cent nickel with a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The 3-cent coins are often referred to as their metal content, a 3-cent silver or a 3-cent nickel. Changes similar to these would come about in World War II when the U.S. entered the war. The copper and other metals were needed for the war effort, so two denominations had major overhauls, the cent and the nickel. For 1943, the Lincoln cent was struck out of a zinc-plated steel. These are often found as dull, grayish wheat cents, with the zinc plating having been removed by time and wear. These coins can also be found as reprocessed. The reprocessed 1943 cents were recoated with a zinc layer that was actually much thicker than the original production. These come off as very shiny and cannot have ghosted or exaggerated design elements. The nickel had both a design change and a metallic change for the years of 1942 through 1945. Prior to this time and after this time, the nickels were made out of 75% copper and 25% nickel. During these war years, and that was 1942 through 1945, they were 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese. These wartime nickels had large mint marks placed on the reverse of the coin above the Monticello building to make them easily identifiable for reclaiming after the war was over. There was a test done in 1974 with the Lincoln cent in an attempt to make a more cost-effective coin. This test in 1974 had just under 1.6 million cents struck on aluminum as experimental pieces. These test pieces were never released for circulation, and most were destroyed. The Lincoln cent had another major change in late 1982 when the plan sets were changed from the bronze mix, which was the 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc, to copper-plated zinc. The core of the coin is 99.2% zinc and 0.8% copper, with the outer shell or the outer plating as being pure copper, leaving the total content of the new coin at 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. Collectors often refer to these new cents as zinkins. The last major coinage metallic change came about in 1964 and 1965, where the larger denominations, the dimes, the quarters, and the half dollars, went through an overhaul. The Coinage Act of 1965, which was enacted on July 23rd, eliminated the silver from the circulating dimes and quarters and reduced the silver content for the half dollars from 90% to 40%. The 1964 half dollar was only Kennedy half to have a 90% silver content. From 1965 to 1970, the Kennedy half was 40% silver. This major change was activated by coin shortages that had started in 1959, resulting from people hoarding the silver coins because they were worth more in bullion as what they were worth in money. This act also banned the production of silver dollars until at least 1970, but which at the time there were no plans to produce any silver dollars. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and this helped increase your knowledge on the topic of coin design. I want to thank you for joining me today in covering the coin design process. Catch us in the next episode where we dive more into the minting process. Thanks for listening.